Okay, so I just bounced. I go through these things. People say, "Oh, you should drink more water," or "How much water you?" I drink a lot. No ears there, Mike. No waters. Viva la Dirt League. There, I made a pitch for him. Yeah, I think it would be cool. Oh, so cool. May 9th, 2024. Nice date. Um, I mean, once we get these businesses and platforms and product production and stuff going, it can expand even more by partnering with other content providers and even possibly being either a consultancy or a service. Somebody wants to, say, Marvel wants to use the Web3 to publish or promote Spider-Man or Marvel Universe or whatever. And like, if you got the Marvel contract, then nowadays don't you have the Disney contract? And and I will say Disney owns the world. Well, they own Disney World. See, that's that's the fun center, right? You if you can get your characters, your franchise recognized well enough, well, you kind of it's kind of like you can put it on a lunchbox and sell it. Yeah, I would love to store asset value in a collection of collectible lunchboxes. That's huge. Um, and of course, another thing I lived through and used to have some of those lunchboxes. So, and you see, there's like a 30 year window. I first came up with it like in the 90s, or yeah, when we started on eBay and stuff. But I have a model that's a 30-year window that moves down as time goes by. And like before 30 years ago, typically is considered at least vintage, probably antique, moving towards antique. But like 20, 30, 20 is like vintage, which means that probably a lot of the collectors, they collect them because they had them in their childhood and it means a lot to them. That's called nostalgia, right? So 20 years ago would be vintage, and the window moves along. I've watched it for many years. Um, so part of it is you can't save everything, right? But when something's about 10 years old, you probably want to start picking it up like at thrift stores and yard sales and stuff. Test whether it might be arbitrage. And sure enough, 10 years later, then if you're willing to wait 20 or 30 years, the value's gone way up because now people are in their 40s and 50s. They're not young anymore. And yeah, that's what it is. They're not young anymore, but they've got money and their hobbies tend towards capturing their youth, is what happens. So then, more than 20 years, probably the J curve is saturated and those people have moved on to other things as they've got some content. I mean, once you got your collection, don't sell it, right? When do most high value collections get sold? As an estate sale. Um, and then most humorously, the market rewards uh, having held those collectibles for so long in such good shape, but the person's dead. They don't get it anymore. Um, which is another way. Have you ever been to Mary Hill's Museum? I don't think they operate anymore. Oh, Mary Hill Museum has a wonderful history, and I'm not going to get into it here. You can probably Wikipedia it. Or even still be open. I don't know. But they had various collections, like chest collections, doll collections, all kinds of things. It was a museum because the guy owned it, and his will left, I guess, a foundation or something. Anyhow, that kind of stuff can happen. But what it was occurring to me is we could encounter people that will like their collections to us because we've got a museum. We're responsible stewards of assets, and they can't take it with them, and they don't have any place um, to pass it on to other than the vultures and crows, vultures and crows. See, this is creativity. That could make an interesting a comic book. Call it Vultures and Crows Comics. Have you ever heard of Dark Horse? Look it up. So that's an entrepreneurial tip. You know, if you pick collectibles as an asset correctly, you have nowhere but up to go. Now, don't get too excited because if you if you scratch the veil, you find out that you're not increasing your value. Action number one, comic book collecting really took off when it was top front page news that somebody had paid $18,000 for an action number one. And last I saw it was like 180,000, and God knows where it is now. That was years ago. But it isn't the comic book that's getting, well, okay, maybe it is a little bit, as scarcity that's what happened, is they realized condition matters, and a lot went from scarce to rare as people started saying, hey, this is near, you can't really get closer than near mint. And even those that were bought off the shelves, so to speak, often aren't near mint. You're very fine, maybe. Those would be fine, very fine. And then if it was well loved, well, that's where I feed. I'm a bottom feeder in comic book collecting. I'm an arbitrager. That's where the arbitrages are. I mean, ideally, I'm an arbitrage. Being an entrepreneur, I try to minimize my losses and increase my gains. But scratching the veil, this is a secret, open secret. It isn't your assets that's gone up in value, typically. Like I said, there could be exceptions, but it is your money, your fiat currency, your US dollar that's gone down in value. And there's all kinds of grifting scam. I mean, how do you, as a citizen, how do you like that? That your trusted government representatives have been playing a huge Ponzi scheme grifting with fiat currency. I'll say it again here quickly, and maybe I'll bounce. I don't know. Fiat currency is basically an IOU that you're not allowed to cash. And that's where we can get such a incredibly valuable coin in the altcoin area, is we'll strive to give you an IOU. I might have to hire people with IOUs, but you will be able to cash them in. Once we got enough capital or gold or silver or whatever, you will be able to cash it in. There's so much potential, and it's the right way to do it. The old way was doomed from the start. In that sense, that's why, like, the U.S. dollar is a Ponzi scheme, and it was that great evil clown Nixon that did it. Nixon did two incredibly evil things, and as I lived longer and longer, coming to realize how much evil it was, and I'm not really sure why he did it, but he was our other president that's inherently damaged this country. He normalized relationships with China, with communist China, which up until then, communist China was supposed to be our enemy, and the democracy that retreated to Taiwan was supposed to be our partners, and kind of like Ukraine and stuff like that. What we were supposed to do is go in and support Taiwan and let them take back the mainland and eventually Hong Kong. But instead, this evil man normalized relationships with China. And I'm not going to go into the danger and risk and really destiny that he's put us on, the path he's put us on here in 2024. Suffice to say, I'm a patriotic U.S. citizen, but I can see and I'm convinced that China is going to be the next world power, and we're seeing it happen. We're seeing it happen. It isn't when, it's now. It's just we're in the early phases of it. We haven't really realized, oh my God, we're not the world power anymore. We can't just issue IOUs that will never allow them to cash because we're not backing it by anything. What do we buy back our US dollars with? US dollars? It's a conundrum. 11 minutes? Yeah. So I guess I'm talking economics. But you know what? As an innovative entrepreneur, I'm here to tell you, if you're serious, you'd better understand economics. And once again, what you end up learning is it's all smoke and mirrors. Kind of like the accounting 101 joke. Everybody hears it, I'm sure. And I can't remember. I'm rotten with jokes. Oh well, we're going to be writing them. But the punchline is, what number did you want? That's the guy that got the accounting job. Don't get me started on statistics. No, I mean it. Don't get me started.